So, welcome to another episode of Clarity TV. And today I am so excited to introduce you to another DH, Diane Halfman. So, she shares with me Dolores Hirschman, Diane Halfman. But Diane is an expert, is a research specialist. She also has a very interesting backstory that I can't wait to hear and share with you. So, welcome, Diane. Thank you so much for taking time.
Thank you, Dolores. Thank you for having me on the show and for you just helping people get more clarity in their life. It's such a needed resource.
Yeah, that's what we do here. And so tell me about a project, experience, or job that kind of was before and after, or just marked the reality that you live today.
Thanks for asking. Yeah, I had such a big, transformation in my life because I started out as a San Diego police officer and I worked patrol, but I also worked undercover in gangs, narcotics, and vice. And one of my undercover details was in being an undercover prostitute because we were looking for a serial killer that was targeting prostitutes. And I really got to see a behind the scenes look at life on how things were happening that I had no idea about because I grew up having 12 years of Catholic school. I had no idea what was happening on the street, and getting into this kind of work was definitely a street smarts on the job training that allowed me to really hone my intuition, my skills for noticing things that were happening, and really seeing how I was emerging once I was in a training accident. I shattered my gun hand and had to relearn how to use that. And it allowed me to have an opportunity to create something called SpaLife, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But one of the things that happened in my undercover life is I noticed I felt more comfortable being undercover than actually being seen. And so I started to notice where I was being undercover in other aspects of my life as I was moving forward to being more seen in my life and standing more in my power as a civilian.
That is very, very interesting. And I'm hooked with the series Blacklist right now. I don't know if you've watched it. And it's a lot of undercover and FBI. And it's like I can't imagine. It's like the stories you must have to tell over dinner. But let me ask you this question, because it sounds like for me, as I explore clarity and at Masters in Clarity, I really aim to look at life from the place of what are the patterns and where are the common denominator experiences or behaviors that if you put them all together, everything starts to make sense. So the question for you is, what is something that has been with you all along, like a common denominator that is still at play today as it was when you were a policewoman or an undercover cop?
Such a great question, Dolores, because there's so many times when I'm speaking either on stages or to clients, and they talk about what can possibly be the through line between being a police officer. Then I help people organize their space, and I now help people organize their life and to stand more in their power. And what is the common thread in that is what I was referring to as SpaLife, because SpaLife originally started as having more harmony in my life as I transitioned out. But the SPA and SpaLife actually stands for the SPA for seek power always, that power within you, and to not second guess yourself and trust that what you know is what you know. So many times people are seeking more knowledge, but they really need to really go into more of their inner knowing. Like, what is it that they know? And I had the opportunity as a single mom to really look at what was my knowing that was best for my children. What was the knowing on the street when I was either being shot at or in chases or things happening about how I needed to trust myself to survive those situations. And then to really be conscious around what is the environments that I'm creating and what is it that I'm doing to really turn into that power within myself. Because I think so many times we give our power away and we look outside of ourselves for that. So for me, having that through line of when I feel overwhelmed or when I feel like things are stressful, if I do take those moments and I really look at the structures and strategies that I've created for myself and my clients, that when we look within, we have those answers within us. And so seeking that power within us will allow us to take that extra breath and to move from that perspective of knowingness versus that looking outside of ourselves.
I love that. So it's just, is that the way of being
Yes.
that you've had all along, which is your secret weapon. Because when we understand that behavior that we carry, usually, the behavior that positively carries us through, we can identify it as our superpower. And today, and we're going to transition to talk more about your current work, you have turned that secret magic power that you have inside into a business where you teach people this power. So tell us about SpaLife and the work that you do.
Yes, thank you for asking. So now, instead of being a cop on the street, I teach women how to be their own cop, that COP of more confidence, optimism, and power. And how I do that is I find even the most high-level women, whether they're entrepreneurs or they're in corporate, that they have these brilliant ideas. But sometimes when we make so many different decisions during the day, when it comes to those critical decisions, a lot of times we'll defer them to other people, or we won't trust ourselves and we'll second guess that. So really learning how to trust that what your wisdom, your unique experience that you've had really allows you to make those critical decisions. And it becomes a muscle, just like you're building in a gym, is when you trust yourself to make high level decisions, to trust your knowing and step into that place, then you actually have more confidence. And as you build more of that confidence, you can make more confident decisions. And it also, when we come to looking at how we're being, coming from that place of being optimistic, it's so important to see what are the possibilities and the opportunities and look at it from that perspective, because we're always going to have naysayers. I mean, I knew this from being in the public eye. You can do a million things right, and someone's going to pick one thing that you did wrong. And one of the things I've learned is that you've got to keep those people in the background, and you step forward with your own optimism and your own power. And sometimes people shy away from that word power. They think that it can come across as being, arrogant or all-knowing. And it really is a matter of looking at it from that inner wisdom, that inner power, because when you show up with that, you have the magnetism that people are drawn towards, and that they trust a person that trusts themselves. Yes. And so when you show up as that, that's how you can be that game changer, that person that you are here to be. And you can have more clarity about your purpose when you can trust yourself more.
I love that, because the truth is that if we are consistently and constantly putting our trust outside, we're like a log bubbling in water, like trying to find footing, right? But when you have your footing, people can rely on you, but you will have clear boundaries and clear way to communicate who you are and what you stand for. And so there's a safety in your own power. There's a sense of people know what you're about, and that clarity allows for so much deeper connection and much engaging connection with people, because they won't feel that you're going to hang on to their neck, because you stand on your own. Right.
Right. Absolutely. And I think sometimes, women can feel fearful of standing in that power because of how there can be perceived as being, let's just say witchy or, not kind. And so I think that there is a fine balance between showing up and being fierce, but also being feminine. Because when you're feminine, then you actually have a receiving and a drawing energy towards you, but yet you stand in that power. And I think that that is something that is really magical about being a woman, is to be able to draw on being fierce and feminine at the same time.
Yes, I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. So tell me about some of the myths, and we're just starting to talk about that a little bit more, but let's go deeper into the myths of a powerful woman.
Yes. Well, I think the number one is that, women do that they second guess themselves all the time, right? And that they can't make a decision, and they seem indecisive. And I'm purposely, notice how when I'm speaking right now, I'm hesitant in my words, and I am searching for them. And that is as an example to be when we are searching and wondering, and it can show like we're not confident. It can appear that way when we actually are not. So we want to be able to utilize those moments to take a deep breath, allow yourself the space to then actually step into that. So how women show up in their power may be perceived as a weakness to other people, when in actuality, we are drawing in that strength so that we can be clear in our messaging. And it actually is powerful versus a weakness.
I can see that. I can absolutely see that. And I can see that, I mean, I work a lot with speakers, and when we speed up, it's not because we're confident. We're really trying to get it over with because we're in such, fight or flight that we're just trying to get it over. The faster you speak, the more disempowered you are,
Right.
because it takes a lot of courage and a lot of power to hold the space of silence.
Right.
To hold the pause.
Definitely. And, one of the other things is that a lot of times, there's the myth around overwhelm, that overwhelm is a bad thing. And I look at overwhelm and stress and anxiety and any of those things, procrastination, those things that pop up, those are actually indicators to let you know what shifts that you need to make in order to stand back in your power, to have more clarity, and to move forward. When those things pop up, for me, that indicator for me is that I have probably overscheduled. Right? Or I've got too many things on my plate, or I'm doing some things that may not be in alignment with my greater purpose. So when those things come up, instead of, being negative about it, or, having self doubt around that and feeling bad, look and ask better questions around, how is it that this is serving? How is this happening for me so that I can shift and change and get back on track?
I love that. So what do you have exciting coming up in the next 12 months?
Thank you. Well, one of the things that I love to do is to have people look at where are they draining their power? Where is it leaking, and how they can get that back? And so one of the things that one of the first steps I have my clients utilize, and I'm having it for a gift for the listeners here today, is my Reset Your Power gift. And you can get that at resetyourpowergift.com. And it shows you the 5 different ways that you can do that. It's so important to have the awareness around where are you leaking your power? What can you do? How can you simplify things? It's a really simple checklist to be able to look at, because if we don't have awareness of where we're draining our power, then we can't make those shifts and changes to stand more in it. So this will give you a quick indicator to see where is that happening, where is that showing up for you. And then once you find out what that is, you can then make those shifts and changes, whether that's through mentors or having accountability partners or people that will really hold you to the level that you say you'd like to go.
I love that. So we are building the Clarity TV library. So what is one book we should all read, according to you?
I would say Essentialism. That is one of my favorite books that I have read. And one of the things I love about it, and one of the tenets that was in there, is that you are the asset. And this is so important for our entrepreneurs and business owners, is to realize we have so much to give, and so many times we are giving out to other people that we are forgetting that we are the asset. And what that means is that if we're not healthy, if we're not clear, if we're not on point, and something happens to us, we're not able to do our bigger mission in the world. So when we actually start looking at ourselves as being the asset, you start asking yourself questions on how would you take care of the asset? What would you do that protects the asset, which you are the leader of your life, whether you're in business or the leader of your family, you are the leader, you are the asset. And when you ask yourself better questions, you can then act from that place. And Essentialism is such a great book that talks about that, and about getting rid of the things, the noise we were talking about, those indicators around overwhelm and procrastination, that allows you to just focus on the things that are most meaningful to you, what are most essential to you for your life.
I love that. Yeah. And removing the noise. I talk a lot about removing the noise in communications, but removing the noise and understanding that you are not only you're enough, but yeah, without you, your life, your experience of life is not happening. And whether you are head of a company or a family or none of it, you are always a contributor in the community. And
Right.
so, yeah, taking care of the asset. I love that book. So I'll definitely add it to the show notes. So where can people find you? We know where we can find the gift at resetyourpowergift.com. And then what's your website? Where can we find you and follow you?
Oh, thank you, Dolores. My website's my name, dianehalfman.com, DIANE, Halfman, HALFMAN.com. I'm also on Facebook, and I also have my own podcast called Live Your Spa Life on iTunes. You can look at it on any podcast platform, Live Your Spa Life, where we talk about people standing in their power, as well as Instagram.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking time today. And I can't wait to learn more about your work. And I'm going to read Essentialism.
Perfect. Thank you, Dolores. And thank you for all you do.
Thank you.